wait till you get married and then you'll see.
If you get married, you will eventually lose the spark, you will lose the butterflies and everything will be grim.
Sacrifice is a lot of responsibility, but it's also a lot of fun.
It's like, we're getting married this morning.
Don't get married, question mark.
If you're not finding the right wife, life is a finish.
After 30 years of marriage, she still feels butterflies.
Marriage is built in the boring moments.
What even is the point of being married these days?
Marriage can be a fairy tale.
It's not gonna be. Everything's gonna suck.
You can have whatever you want in a marriage. You can't just expect that fairy tale happy ending will happen without the work.
Sometimes a couple gets married and they seem to just slowly drift into their own little world. I know, scary.
I find that it's easier to fall into the bad habits.
So much, yes.
You can still make those moments magical with that intention.
Hello and welcome back to That Married Couple Podcast.
I'm Nava.
And I'm Kian, and welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast. So on today's episode, we're going to be getting honest about what marriage actually looks like day to day, the funny realities, the challenging parts, and all the lessons we've learned along the way.
Yes, and we'll also be answering a question sent in by you about forgiveness, when to let things go and when it's important to talk things out.
Yes, and we're also going to be going into the wild with our very handsome reporters to see what the public has to say about everything we're talking about today.
Yes, and as we dive into today's topic, we want you to think of us as your married besties, talking love, life, and learning as we figure it all out together.
And before we jump in, this is your reminder to follow and leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and like and subscribe and comment on YouTube.
Yes, this podcast can't exist without you, so comment, send in your tips and experiences, and let us know what you want to hear on the podcast. You can also send us a cheeky DM if you want, or you can click the link in our bio and in the description for our anonymous question form.
Yes, please, we'd love to hear from you, so please use that form.
Yes, amazing.
So shall we jump in, Nava? And we're actually starting without a game. I know, scary. But we've got a brand new segment to replace it. Nava, what is this new segment that we're doing today?
Yes, so this segment is basically just to appease me. It's called This Might Be Random, But... And basically, I have a lot of random thoughts that I wanted to share on the podcast, but don't necessarily have to do with the theme of the episode.
Yeah.
And I was like,
so
maybe...
keen to hear about taxes, guys.
It's somewhat relevant. But I was like, maybe we can just talk about random things for a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So this is called This is Random But. So Nava, do you want to take us away with your...
This might be random, but at the start of the year, we started the year in New York.
Yes.
It was amazing. Incredible.
Unique New York.
Unique New York. And then when we got back, Kian got sick. Like actually on the plane on the way back, he was sick, right? And then I got sick a little bit and it was not ideal.
It was honestly like the worst start to the year. Like we were
It was
both
a questionable start.
so unwell.
Yeah.
Particularly me.
I got over it quicker.
Yeah.
But with that, we had like a week and a half, 2 weeks where we were just at home and not doing anything, not seeing anyone, having no commitments. And for me, uni hadn't started yet. So like chilling, loving life. And then we went out to study what it's called Book 12, one of the books of the Ruhi Institute about marriage with a group of friends in our community. And that was our first kind of like outing. And when we came home from that, I felt so alive and so happy. But that outing meant so much more to me because we had been home and we'd had peace and quiet and we weren't like rushing to get there and trying to fit a million things in. And so this period of quiet just made me feel like I want to protect my peace a little bit more and like,
You want to protect your peas?
My peas.
Your peas.
And my peace.
Your peas and your peas.
Yeah. The peas are really important.
And the peas are very safe, right?
Yeah, they're really safe. Don't worry about the peas.
Okay, good.
But you know, just having that moment of quiet and not always being busy is a really good thing. And I low-key would recommend taking a week to just like do nothing
Just
so
be
you can
sick.
well,
Go
ideally
start licking the floor of public transport. Get sick for a week and just relax. Just really drink it in.
But yeah, when everything stops, you're able to then reprioritize your life. And I'm now not going to stack everything.
Well, it's so interesting for me, particularly to see you not like to see you like enjoying kind of peace and quiet to a certain extent, because we've spoken about it before in the podcast, but like both of us are, but particularly you are like a busy bee and you fill yourself up with so many things. It's so interesting to see you be like, oh, it's actually kind of nice when I don't have a million different things to go to.
So
new year,
that's
new
my,
you.
this might be random.
Okay,
But
so that was This Might Be Random, but if you liked it,
let us know. That's
it was random.
That might be
yeah,
random.
that was random. See? All right.
Nice.
So shall we get into the content of the episode now, Nava?
Yes, we should. So this episode is called Things They Don't Tell You About Marriage or something to that extent. We'll see what the actual episode is called when it comes out.
Don't get married, ? Something clickbaity, yeah.
What? But basically we reached out to, I messaged almost every married person I know. I swear I messaged so many people.
And we keep on getting messages like showing up on Nava's phone. I'm like, who's that person? Who's this person? Like, oh, someone else I messaged. Like every day, it's like, there was someone today, never even seen the name before. I was like, who's that? Someone I messaged for the podcast.
I knew they were married. I messaged them. So I'm trying to get to find out what are these things that people don't tell you about marriage that when you get married, you realize, oh, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect that. I also read all of the Google articles about things they don't tell you about marriage. So hopefully this is an informed episode. We had heaps of responses and heaps of articles, as I said. So we've chosen some of our favorite ones to talk about, and also obviously our own experiences.
Yes. So we thought we could split it up with some of the more funny ones that people gave to us and some of the ones that we came up with ourselves. And then we'll go into maybe some of the deeper, stronger ones. So what are some of the funny ones, Nava, that stood out to you? I think you can do your one first, maybe.
The one that I always say when anyone's like, what's one thing you didn't expect about marriage? There's so much laundry. I actually don't understand. I lived by myself and with a housemate before we got married, and there was never this much laundry. Someone was like, is it just adulting? You don't expect to do so much? No, I don't know why. I don't know if it's you. I don't know if it's just
I'm not going to have that many clothes.
I don't know what's going on, but the laundry amount is what shocked me.
Well, and I feel like mine was a similar thing because it's just cleaning in general. I feel like since we got married, all we seem to do is just constant clean. So it's like whether it's laundry or whether it's dishes, I swear there's this enigma in our house where the second that we clean something, our kitchen stays clean for about 2 seconds?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, we're just constantly cleaning all the time. So that was one thing I guess I didn't really expect to do constantly when it came to marriage.
Do you have another one?
I do. I also have just how warm a person can get. I have never, when Nava goes to sleep, her body decides I'm going to go supernova. And I've referenced it to you a lot. She feels like a hot water boiler. I've never touched a hot water boiler, but I have an example of what one must feel like every night. And I can't imagine somebody's body getting so hot and them not combusting or breaking out into just flames.
I don't know.
So that's definitely something that no one told me is just quite how boiling hot someone can get in the middle of the night.
Boiling hot?
Yeah.
But okay. I don't know what to do about that. If you know why that's happening to me,
you're just too hot. Oh my God, it's so hard.
And then some other things that people said was that how little closet space there is in one bedroom because you go living in a bedroom by yourself all of your life and then you have to try and fit two people's things.
Well, we've been looking for a place because we're now going to be renting a new place, and we went to open inspections and stuff, and it's kind of right. The cupboard space you can get in a lot of places is tiny, particularly if you're trying to make room for two people in a one-bedroom apartment. Yes. So very true.
So that's one. And then another one was not expecting to deal with snoring. And it always seems to be the man that snores. I don't know what's up with that. But
I don't snore, I don't think.
No, only when you're sick. Same with me, only when I'm sick.
So big win for us.
Big win for us.
No snoring in our household.
Okay. Shall we go on to the more serious
now that
ones?
we've got some of the more funny ones out of the way, let's get into the serious ones. Nava, what is the first sort of serious thing that we have here about things that people don't tell you about marriage?
Okay, when we say serious, it's just, I guess, this is actually not that serious.
It's not serious. It's just
the more grounded.
Yeah,
this is the sweetest thing ever. So basically, in my asking of all the married people, one person said that marriage can be a fairy tale and you can have that feeling of butterflies. She was saying that you always hear that I wish that I had a fairy tale, and then you get married and it's really bad and you have to work through everything. And I agree. That's this general sentiment. They're always like, oh, wait till you get married and then you'll see. And then when you're first married, they're like, oh, wait for the next few years and then you'll see what's going on.
Which is also like, just by the way, really interesting how often people like bring the doom and gloom into like happy. Like someone's like, yeah, it's great, it's amazing. Like it's not gonna be. Everything's gonna suck.
Yeah. But she said that after 30 years of marriage, over 30 years of marriage, she still feels butterflies with her husband, and they go out to coffee every day, and that's the highlight of her day. And when she's apart, she misses him, and that this fairy tale butterflies thing can be there. And I think like what we wanted to add to that is I totally agree. I feel that way about Kian.
You still get butterflies for me?
Sometimes, yeah.
I stopped getting butterflies years ago.
Oh.
That's a joke. I still get butterflies.
But I think it's about like, how do you make sure that actually happens? Because I think you can have whatever you want in a marriage and it can be as beautiful as you make it. You just need to be intentional about making sure that that happens.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. And I think it's that idea of like that concerted, constant effort that you have to put into your marriage, right? Like if you want to keep the spark alive, you've just got to work to keep it alive, which it sounds really obvious, and I think it comes into one of the other bits we'll talk about in a second. It's so easy, I think, sometimes in marriage to just let things, I don't want to say fizzle out, but just become mundane, become ordinary. And I think to keep those butterflies alive, to keep that spark alive, there's different things you can do. I know something this person said was like their kind of ritual of connection they have, where they would like have coffee every morning, and that being like the best part of her day. So it's definitely, I think, something that it's not this foregone conclusion that if you get married, you will eventually lose the spark, you will lose the butterflies, and everything will be grim. But you can find the ways to keep those butterflies alive. Yeah,
and I think maybe the difference is that you can't just expect that fairy tale happy ending will happen without the work. But it's not, as you said, it's not impossible. It just takes that concerted effort.
So with that, shall we go to the next one?
Yes. Do you want to tell me about it?
Yes, I do. And so this one I feel like kind of ties in to what we're talking about here with like marriage can be a fairy tale. You can keep those butterflies. But it's that marriage is built in the boring moments, and that it's easy in marriage to like become roommates, right? Like that when you're together, if you're not making that concerted effort, it's really easy to just become, like, oh, can you do this? Oh, okay, cool. Can you do that? But the main thing that we got from this person was that it's about how you treat each other in those mundane areas and in those mundane situations. That is really what your marriage becomes. And I think it ties into that point of, if you're treating each other with this idea of the fairy tales and the butterflies, you can have that really positive marriage. But that obviously the main work of marriage comes in those periods where things slow down. You might not have as many exciting things happening, and you start to just settle into a pattern. And I think it's in those moments that like marriage can be like tested, because I think at times maybe that's when people start to have more arguments, or can start to be like, oh, well, maybe is this a bit like I'm not as I've given saying the butterflies, but to that point before, maybe are you not getting as excited by things as you used to because you've started to get into a pattern? But that's when you've really got to be like, okay, like what are we doing to make sure that in these moments we're finding ways to connect? Because I think for sure, like with us even, like we obviously have a lot of fun in our marriage, but like there are times where we just kind of end up getting in routine, and sometimes we have to kind of catch each other and be like, oh, we've kind of just sort of settled into a bit of a pattern here.
Yeah, and it reminded me of something else that I read when researching for this episode. And it was the idea that familiarity breeds contempt, and that when you become too familiar with someone and when you're just with them all the time, it's very easy to start treating them badly and get into those negative habit spirals, I guess. But doing these little things like date nights or having lots of different little habits that keep that spark alive can help you avoid getting into that contempt, boredom phase, and keep the fairy tale phase alive. And like we have friends who, I don't know if they still do this, but at the start of their marriage, they would get married every morning and put their rings on each other.
That's so cool. I don't remember who that was.
Yeah, it was so cute.
Yeah.
And so that was a little ritual of connection that was like, we're getting married this morning.
Cute.
We're getting married. And just like little things like that, like our TikTok time at nighttime with my head on your shoulder, little things is what makes the marriage. And the way you talk to each other when you're just talking about the dishes, or you're just talking about like, oh, I need to get petrol today. You can still make those moments magical with that intention.
Well, and I also feel like there's one thing about like the importance of ritual, but I also feel like keeping things fresh to a certain extent as well. Like it's good to have your rituals of connection, but also maybe like every now and then do something different, do something a bit unique. Maybe like go to a walk in a new area that you haven't been before, or find those new things that, keep things exciting and keep things fresh as well, I think is a nice way to, I don't know, try and keep those butterflies around.
Okay, so I'm hearing a buzz. I don't know what is it.
I'm just two very attractive reporters.
Oh, I can hear them through my ears, and they're so attractive.
Yeah, I can hear. I think we're gonna cross to them now. We have our reporters in the field.
Yes, for TMC in the wild.
Thank you, Nava and Kian. We are hearing you loud and clear, and I must say, your voices also just sound so attractive. Where are we today, Nava?
Today, we are in Pitt Street Mall, and we're actually going to be coming to you live for 2 segments in today's episode. And for our first segment, we'll be interviewing people who are not yet married about their expectations of marriage.
Let's go ask the public and see what they have to say.
I'm not going to jail, no?
No.
That's the most important.
What do you imagine are the realities of married life?
What even is the point of being married these days?
I feel like because I'm Asian, like it's very instilled to me, like marriage obviously is like about love and stuff, but it's also about like making a life together. So there's a lot of like real realities that come with it too. And like in my opinion, I'm not like very rushed to get married. Like I feel like you can't have love and have a good life if you don't have like a very good like stable situation first, if that makes sense. Or else you'll be just like scrambling to get everything together. You'll have fights because you'll be stressed and stuff.
If you're not finding the right wife, life is a finish. Yeah.
Just being together, like, for life, like actually loving someone.
I feel like loyalty and knowing your partner.
Yeah.
Sticking with them and being with them through thick and thin.
Yeah. Always being together and having trust.
Yeah, of course, to be happy. Yeah, for me, it's the goal of a life. So.
Monotonous.
Honest?
Yeah, just the same thing every day.
I have to say the same. Communication and being honest with each other. Yeah.
Fun and loyal.
Yeah, I think it's a celebration of a partnership.
What are your expectations of marriage?
In this day, we're all just so busy and stressed out that nobody really has time for marriage, and like the expectations are so low, and we're all just caught up in our own world that like what even is the point of being married these days, when I feel like when women can work, you know, they don't need to rely on a person to fund their lifestyle, and you know, like having kids is expensive as well, so it's like what's the point of even being married these days? But then again, when the opportunity does come and they're very understanding and like, you know, they vibe with you, I'd be okay, but I don't want to take care of a child, to be honest.
I expect it's a two-way street, and I reckon both the people have to get to know each other and really connect before they get married. Like a lot of people these days, I think, just do it just for the sake of doing it, just to compete with their friends. But I honestly think, yeah, you really got to feel a good connection before you tie the knot.
That was so interesting, getting so many different perspectives. We're now going to go back to those two little handsome devils in the studio. Back to you guys.
Shall we find the next thing people don't tell you about marriage?
Yes. What's another thing, Nava, that people don't tell you about marriage that we're, I guess, dropping all the secrets on?
We're dropping the secret
People do
bombs.
tell you, we tell you, but nobody else does.
We told you. The third one is there's an infinite number of things that you can consult about in your marriage. Because we talk about the idea of consultation and coming to mutual ideas and agreements. But when you talk about everything and consult about every little thing, it can become quite draining. And this is what this person that we spoke to mentioned, and we definitely agree. And that at some point, you need to just delegate and be able to make decisions on your own and consult about the big things, but not necessarily about every single little thing.
Yeah, and I think that kind of touches on that importance of just figuring out what are the important things, what are the big rocks, what are the things that you can sometimes just be okay with, and like essentially not everything has to be a discussion or a big consultation, particularly if it's like you're not finding a solution. I can imagine how exhausting it must be if like at every single moment you're like, well, what about this thing? Let's talk about this thing. Let's talk about that thing. And it's something that we've, I think, found speaking to people as well, is a lot of couples really benefit sometimes just from assigning roles. And like we've spoken before about the idea of like blue jobs and pink jobs, where it's like there are certain jobs that I do in the house and certain jobs that Nava does. And even in the equality in relationships episode, we spoke a little bit more on it. So go watch that now. But like we found that a lot of couples benefit from just having some things that just takes the mental load and it helps share that mental load. So that then when there are those big things that you want to discuss, you can come together and properly give them the space they need to be able to find a solution on.
Yeah, and I think this idea of delegating and also trusting your own judgment is something that I feel that we can work on and develop even more.
Yeah.
Because we are really good at consultation, I think. We are very good at leaving out. But I think we're quite good at leaving our egos behind and focusing on the problem and dealing with it and coming up with creative solutions. But I sometimes feel consultation fatigue where it's like, okay, there's this little decision. Do we have to talk about it, or will you just trust me on this? Will I just trust you on that? And I found that sometimes I do feel like I can't make a decision without talking it through, even if it's a mundane decision about my own life. That I think if we can also learn to just delegate and feel confident in our ability to do things and make decisions as well, that would be helpful. And things can also happen a little bit quicker when you do that. And it's not to say you don't consult. Of course, that's the bedrock of everything. It's the most important thing. But yeah, finding those moments, I think, is something that we can continue to develop as well.
I think that's a really great insight. I hadn't really thought of that properly in that way because to your point, it's a bit like we have a safety blanket constantly, right? You always have someone that you can rely on. And we've spoken about that as being a real benefit of marriage, and I think it is. But yeah, definitely thinking about not becoming maybe too dependent on that you become unable to make a decision by yourself.
Yeah. All
right. The next one that we have is kind of on that same point, that it's easy to become insular. So that obviously in a marriage, it's easy to just become the two of you. And I think a lot of probably married couples or even friends of married couples could experience this, when sometimes a couple gets married and they seem to just sort of slowly drift into their own little world. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Like you're with somebody that you love spending time with, and it can then start to become harder to maybe keep connections at times, particularly maybe individual ones, because it's like, or maybe do you have an individual friendship with somebody and then it's like, oh, like, do we all hang out together? Like, what's that like? And I think definitely, even like with us, I feel like it's really, we love hanging out with each other. So it's really easy for us to just want to hang out with each other all the time.
Something else, a friend said to me, oh, you never invite me anywhere. You just hang out with your couple friends. And that was like a real wake up call for me, because I was like, yeah, it is a lot easier to just hang out with the two of us because I've got my best friend all the time. But then also B, because there's two of us, it's easier to hang out with couples.
Yeah.
But then what about your other friendships? And so I think it's really important to keep everything in mind and everything balanced, because it's not to say you shouldn't hang out with your spouse. Like, of course you got married, you should spend time together. And it's also great to hang out with other couples, but just like keeping that open mind and not just falling into the pattern of it's easy to just be with my person all the time at home and goodbye to the world.
Perfect. You want to go to the next one?
Yes. The next one is that it's easy to drag each other into your bad habits. A few people said this. Great. Excellent.
Yeah, Ed Sheeran's a big fan of the podcast.
And if you want to come on and be a guest, every time I'm like, who wants to be a guest?
Look, Ed and I are quite close, and this isn't really quite his scene, but he's a massive supporter from afar. So
yeah, well, you never know what's to come in the future.
Yeah, you never know, actually. Maybe I'll change Ed's mind.
Yeah, maybe you will. Have a chat with him.
But let's speak about bad habits.
Yeah, a few people said this, and I totally agree that when you get married, the good habits, yes, but I find that it's easier to fall into the bad habits.
So much, yes. I think we've kind of spoken about this before, but like, even can I say like the biggest thing I find is like dessert and like us having like a sweet tooth, because like sometimes one of us will be like, oh yeah, okay, I'm not going to have dessert. And the other one will feel like dessert and be like, hey, like, what if we just had just like a little bit of ice cream? And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And so I think like definitely, and like that's obviously like a bit more of a funny example, but across everything, like whether it goes both ways, right? You can try and lift the other person up, but it's always harder, I think, to obviously lift somebody to a good a raised standard, let's say an elevated standard. And it's always easier to fall onto usually the badder habits that you get in a relationship.
Because the bad habits are usually easier to do, or more the like base level things like eating sugar, for example, or going to bed late or whatever it might be. It's easier to just be like, I'm just going to lie on the couch rather than like, I'm going to go to bed early and then I'm going to wake up early. Or it's easier to just have a chocolate bar than to like have some fruit and cut it up or whatever. So I think that's why it's easier to fall into the bad habits. But if you're conscious of that, I think you can actively combat that and deal with it and raise each other to a higher standard for sure.
What's a way, do you think, that like a practical way that we could do that? Like do you call out because it's difficult, right?
Bad habit.
Yeah, right. Obviously, the other person isn't trying to like put on a bad habit onto their partner, but like what do you say? Do you go, oh, I actually think this isn't a good habit? Like,
I mean, we've done this before. Like, for example, I'd say the biggest one for us is going to bed late. Sometimes I would go to bed at 7:30. I was that person. And then now it's like, oh, it's 12 o'clock. That's still early. Like, let's keep watching some TV. But we just spoke about it and we're like, look, I don't think this is healthy objectively because we're very lucky. We have science to back things up. So when it's habits in terms of that and health, like there's a right and a wrong answer.
Yeah, true.
Even in terms of spiritual habits, same. We have a source of truth and there's a right and a wrong answer to an extent. Obviously not in everything, but you can turn to that. And I feel like we have, like with the sleep thing, now you're doing very well. You're going to bed earlier than me. It's excellent.
It's crazy. I love it.
The sickness has helped, I think, a little bit.
It definitely has.
Thank you.
It started the year. It's meant that I've been loving to sleep. So it's been really great. And I'm going to be a change person this year. I'm going to be a morning person finally. So
yeah. But yeah, talking about the science, I think. It's helped.
Great. Okay. Our final one then, for things people don't tell you about marriage, is a very important one. It's that you will both change in a marriage. And I think such a good point, and maybe something people don't quite talk about maybe enough. And it's something that, like, actually, even for us, I think we came into our marriage being like, yes, we're both going to change. Because we got married so young, it was one of the things we spoke about, that we weren't finished articles when we got married. I think we were both like relatively close to being cooked, but we've obviously since then, I would say we've both grown quite a lot. And I really like that we've been able to do that together. But it does also mean that things will change, right? Like certain things that you like about your partner at a particular time, they may grow out of, or they may stop wanting to do certain things. And I guess it's about having that consultation throughout to sort of be aware of the changes that are happening and continue to love the person that you've chosen to marry. Yeah,
and we spoke about this a couple of episodes ago. I said I married Kian as an entity rather than the fixed version of Kian that I had then. And I think that's just something really useful to keep in mind, that you think you know the person and you think you've done your research before you get married, you've chosen that person, but you've chosen the core of that person, but maybe the outside elements that they're exhibiting at that point will change and develop.
And it must be challenging because, like, obviously through life as well, as you go through different life stages, like there can be massive amounts of change. Like I can imagine even with like work, like sometimes getting a new job, it could really change how around somebody is. Or like when you have kids, like I can imagine there are these massive changes that you do go through in a marriage. And I feel like it's really useful to be upfront about it so that you can expect it. Because I think maybe sometimes when people fall into troubles is being like, oh, well, what happened now? Like all of a sudden you're not the same. You don't show me love the way that you used to or something, because like priorities have changed or things have changed. So I feel like obviously being as open about that as you can, and the two of you can be, so you can consult as you go through, is obviously going to put you in a good position.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So those are some of the things that people don't tell you about marriage. As I said, we reached out to so many people. Yes. So we're going to put up a post with all of them. There might be like 50, honestly. So keep an eye out for that as well. But those are some of the ones that we thought were the most useful or interesting.
And if you have any more, as always, please write in. We'd love to hear if there's anything that you have a particular opinion on, or even if there's something that you're like, I actually want you guys to talk more about it, please write in. You have the anonymous form in the description and in our Instagram bio, so you can use that.
We're back! Did you miss us? Because we missed you. Kian, what's our second segment about?
Our second segment is us asking married couples what are things that people don't tell them about marriage. What are their thoughts? What can we find out from the public?
What can we find out to answer this question? Let's go.
How amazing it is. I guess they tell you that a lot.
Yeah, people usually focus on the negative side of things.
Yeah.
How it's a lot of sacrifices, a lot of responsibility, but it's also a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You do need to divvy up the housework though, so that's another thing that people should have warned you about.
How much adapting you have to do to adjust to how you change over time and your partner changes over time. And so that's all adapting and compromise, and sometimes actually grabbing the memory of why you got married and remembering it.
Yeah, sometimes everyone needs their space.
Yeah.
Just for a while.
You learn through the journey. It's not like you know about marriage and you get into it. So once you get in, everybody figures out their own way of finding that baseline.
You have to work hard at it. And you have kids and they grow up.
Yes.
And then it's different.
The foreverness, to be honest. You find surprises on the way and you don't know if it's going to be up or down.
Thank you so much. And again, just fantastic reporters, honestly. Like I know that we big up them quite a bit, but it's just true at the end of the day. There's nothing I can say about that.
That's true.
So with that, shall we go on to our question time, Nava, which means...
We hadn't spoken.
Whoa.
But everyone, let's sing along.
Let's sing it together.
It's question time with Nava and Kian. Yeah.
That was bad. Were you deliberately bad?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
But then you started singing special.
I did start singing special.
It's not a question time.
I caught it. I went...
Yeah. And I just wanted to make it extra bad. And then I was like, for the people singing along, it's probably not that enjoyable to sing along with someone
actually,
singing
that's
so
interesting.
bad.
Do you sing along to Question Time with Nava and Kian? Let us know.
Let us know in the comments. All right.
Our question today.
time.
Shall I read it out, Nava? Or do you want to read it out?
I mean, don't mind.
Or should we both read it out at the same time?
No, not that one.
Okay.
So we just consulted about that. One of us could have just done it. I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
Oh.
Okay, you do it. You go.
Okay, I'm going to go. They always say forgive and forget in marriage. But how do you know when to let things go versus when you need to actually talk things through?
Very, very interesting.
Yes. And we actually had a conversation about this in our study with our friends the other day. And it was actually a very, very juicy conversation as well. So we'll talk about some of those things as well as some other things. We'll just talk about
We'll talk about some things and some other things.
But there's a quote.
There is a quote. There's a quote from Abdu'l-Baha, who's the son of the founder of the Baha'i faith. And it speaks about this idea of forgiveness. I'll speak about it briefly. It says, "Let not your heart be offended with anyone. If someone commits an error and wrong towards you, you must instantly forgive him. Do not complain of others. Refrain from reprimanding them. And if you wish to give admonition or advice, let it be offered in such a way that it will not burden the hearer. Turn all your thoughts towards bringing joy to hearts."
Yes.
Yes. And I think it's a great way to sort of, I guess, frame this idea of forgiveness and what forgiveness is in marriage. Because obviously this is asking us to be of a very particular and a high standard of forgiveness. But I do think that idea of where possible in a marriage, if you're able to just forgive, it's obviously going to put you in a good situation, particularly if it's those smaller things that don't need to be brought into like a big conversation. Because you can imagine if every single thing that someone did you always made into like a big hoo-ha, it's not going to be the happiest situation in a relationship. So to have that ability to forgive the short things, but then also not just allow yourself to be walked over is really important.
I was going to say on that, I think there are times when it's useful to just let things go. But if you let everything go, I don't think you're necessarily standing up for yourself and for justice in the way that you potentially should. And also, if you think you're just letting things go, but really you're just sweeping it under the rug and then they're building up and building up and building up, that can be unhelpful too.
Well, yeah, I think that's when you see like big fights break out, or like sometimes couples can even have like separation sometimes because of something that it seems like it came out of nowhere, but it's the same sort of thing that's just never actually addressed in the relationship.
One concept that's spoken about in 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, which is by John Gottman and Nan Silver, I believe, is this idea of an emotional bank account. And that every positive interaction that you have adds money into this emotional bank account. And then when you have negative interactions, that might take some money out of the account. But I think for us, we've used this concept in a way that really helps us is that's the first thing we think about, because we have so many positive interactions. Our emotional bank accounts are they're full of money. Our emotional bank accounts are much more full than our real bank accounts. But if our partner, like if Kian does something that kind of annoys me, but it's not a big deal, I'll think back to my bank account, my emotional bank account, and all the positive things he's done. And I'll be able to see, okay, he must not have meant it in that way. Or I may be misunderstanding something, that I must be misinterpreting it because I have this massive bank of things that I know I have experience of him doing positive things and us being loving.
Yeah, and it helps moderate your like reaction as well to a certain extent, because like if you've got this massive emotional bank account amount, let's say, and everything's been really good, if one thing happens, you don't want to then like fly off the handle, right? And be like massively upset, because it's not fair, right? Because you've got this bank that helps regulate you.
And also having the language of that has been really helpful, because sometimes I remember earlier on, Kian would be like, but think about all the things that I've done that prove that what you're interpreting my actions as are not the case.
Yeah.
And so that language of, okay, think about the bank account has been really helpful.
But not our actual bank account.
No, that would just make me cry.
Make us more upset.
But so that's one thing that is helpful, and it makes it easier to forgive when you have that positive bank account statement. But then something else, what else?
Well, there's a few other ones. Like one of them, we've spoken about consulting, and I think the big thing is having a consultation over a confrontation, particularly when it comes to this idea of like forgiving in a marriage, not just coming from a period or like a position of like anger and frustration. I mean, we've spoken about this a lot, but that ability to come together and consult when it is right and when it is one of those things that is worth having a conversation about, I think is also really useful.
Yeah, even on this idea of I need to forgive him or we need to fight about it, there's this other idea of we need to talk about it in a consultative manner rather than me bringing my feelings, you bringing your feelings. It's about, okay, how can we find the spark of truth here and see what's the most important approach to move forward in? And so I think that can help you forgive, but it's not forgiving without dealing with the issue. It's not just letting things go. I think, as we said, there are times when you should let things go, and there are times when it's helpful to talk about it so you avoid that buildup of emotions or that shock divorce or whatever it might be.
Well, and I think it goes into like that second part of the question, which is like, how do you know when to let things go versus when to actually talk about it? And I think that's a useful way to think about it, is it something that's just a small thing that I can forgive? Or is it something that, no, there's a deeper problem here, or something that I am really upset by, or I keep on noticing that I get upset by? That's maybe when it's time to bring it in. Is there any other ways that you can kind of think of how to know when it's, like, when is something just something that you can sweep under the carpet? And when is it something that you think you need to have a consultation about?
For us, I feel like we actually do talk things out a lot. Yeah. And this comes into maybe the consulting on things. But even with little things, we're very quick to talk about it, and we're also very quick to move on from it. So if it's a thing like I can't think of an example, but let's make up one.
Yeah.
If you always leave the cupboard doors open, which you don't necessarily, but
necessarily.
No, actually with the sliding door you do. Okay. But let's make up the example of like you leaving the sliding door open, for example. This is not a big thing that deserves a big discussion or an argument about it. It would be very easy for me to just close it and move on. But things like that, I think we're very good at just being like, hey, it's just kind of bothering me that this is open a little bit. Can you make sure you close it? And the other one's like, yeah, no worries. Move on. And there's no blame associated with that. So there's nothing I really need to forgive, because it's just a little thing that we can talk about.
Well, I guess maybe is it that idea of like forgiving and forgetting, I guess, right, to a certain extent, where it's not like you hold on to something. It's like, oh, okay, cool, like he said sorry, or like that idea of, oh, can you just fix that thing? And you don't hold on to it as like, oh, there are all these different things that are happening, which can obviously, I guess, like rev you up, but the ability as well to just keep things at a high level when it needs to be. You know, you don't need to make everything a big deal.
Yeah, but when there's things that are affecting you maybe emotionally, or you can see that they are potential issues. For me, if it's a potential issue that I think could affect our children down the line, I'm like, okay, we need to talk this through to figure out what our approach is going to be. But when it's just a little thing like closing the cupboard, or maybe you said something in a funny way, or I did something weird, I think it's easier to just be like, okay, there's this thing, good, moving on.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So is there any final things you have in terms of this question? Anything else that could be useful?
There's this one thing that kind of the quote talks about. It says, let your heart not be offended with anyone. And it's this idea of don't offend people, but also don't be offended. And it's something that I always have in my mind. Anytime I get offended by someone, I'm like, I shouldn't get offended in the first place. And then I'm like, what was wrong with me? Because it kind of just affects you, not the other person in a way. in normal life. But in a marriage, when you're always with each other, it also starts to affect the other person. So if we can try and see each other in a positive light as much as possible, I guess it goes back to the emotional bank account thing. See each other in positive light, try and find the reasoning behind it, find the spark of truth rather than just getting offended by someone.
I love that. I think it's a really great mantra, I think, to bring around a relationship in general. And the next time you get offended at me, I'll say, don't get offended.
And I'll be like, don't offend, because there's two sides to that coin.
Perfect. So that wraps up our discussion about what people don't tell you about marriage, and also your question that you sent in about forgiveness in marriage.
Yes, it was a short and sweet episode. Hope you enjoyed, and we love hearing your questions, so please send in more. Thank you so much for listening to this episode.
Yes, thank you. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube at That Married Couple Podcast.
Yes, and as we said, we want to hear from you no matter what stage of life you're in.
Yes, as Nava said at the beginning, this podcast can't exist without you. So please, please, please send in your questions, your tips and experiences, and let us know anything you want to hear on the podcast. We genuinely love so much hearing when people have different ideas or different things they want to see. So please, please, please write in with that anonymous form.
Yes, and if you haven't yet, leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and a like on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. Lots of love from Nava
and Kian. See
Bye.
you next time.